Disney recently released a new animated movie called Encanto, with lots of songs, diversity, representation, and all of that stuff, and everyone is loving it. Well, except me. I've been seeing a lot of positive comments coming from the critics and mainly from the fans, but if I'm being honest, I really think that this movie is not that great. And today, I'll do a complete breakdown of this film, discussing the plot, the songs, the characters, and my thoughts on why I don't like Encanto. The story takes place in a Colombian village where long ago the Family Madrigal was given a miracle that blessed the whole family by giving them gifts that are kind of like superpowers. But the problem is that everyone except Mirabel has a magical power. So the plot revolves around Mirabel being the not special kid and her trying to show the family that she's just as special as the rest of the family. We get to know all of the characters right in the start with Mirabel's song that I personally find a bit annoying, called the Family Madrigal. While many people may say that the song introduces all of the members so well, I disagree. It's like that famous quote, "Show, don't tell." Instead of just telling us how amazing they are, show us that they are amazing. But because there's so many of them, they all have very little screen time, so they end up not doing so much in the story. I really can't understand why they are so special anyways. Abuela says in the song that they promise to help those around us to earn the miracle, but I don't see how their gifts help the town. I mean, Luis and Julieta, maybe. One helps carrying the heavy loads, which is very useful, and the other heals the citizens. But Dolores? How does her gift help the town? And Camilo and Isabella? Those are really unuseful powers if you ask me. Sure, they are all fun and games, but they surely don't help the others. So Mirabel is trying her best to make the family proud of her since she has no gift, and we see that she constantly gets rejected, especially by Abuela and the rest of the members, for not being special. I kinda like the moment where she has this talk with Antonio, since his gift ceremony will be taking place on this day, so she gives him support and tells him to not be scared. We see how much he likes her even though she doesn't have any powers. But then he ends up not being that important to the narrative and becomes more like the rest of the family, a background character. We later on hear the second song, which is Mirabel's solo called Waiting on a Miracle, where she talks about her invisible pain and how she doesn't fit in a family. I personally don't like this song that much. I think the first verse is more talk than melodic, something that I particularly don't enjoy. The pre-chorus is great. I love the percussion with the acoustic guitar in the back. It feels impactful and it sets this growing tone for an awesome chorus, but then it loses that feeling very quickly as soon as it hits the chorus. The lyrics then become really repetitive and boring, with her saying miracle, miracle, miracle all of the time. And at the end, the melody of the song gets all over the place. I really can't understand which part is the pre-chorus or the bridge, and in my honest opinion, I think the song was too high-pitched for Mirabel's voice actress Stephanie Beatriz. Of course, she's a great singer, but I didn't feel like it matched her voice tone that well, especially in the chorus part. In conclusion, a pretty average song compared to the amazing How Far Ago from Moana, for example, since they're both composed by the same composer, Lin-Manuel Miranda. After Mirabel's song, we start to better understand the main plot. She notices cracks all over Casita and warns the family. But when they all come back, the crack is gone, so evil Abuela gets mad at her again. She then starts to suspect that there is something wrong with the magic, mainly because she heard Abuela secretly worried about the miracle that night. So the next day, she goes to investigate by talking to Dolores, who in theory hears everything. If you think about it, in fact her power doesn't make any sense. She hears a pin drop, but she couldn't hear Casita falling apart the night before? Okay then, very logical. But anyways, she tells her that Luisa's eyes were twitching all night, so Mirabel goes to talk with Luisa to find more information. In the next scene, Luisa opens up to Mirabel with the song called Surface Pressure, talking about her insecurities and how she suffers from caring too much. Speaking on a more technical level, the song is great. It has a nice structure with 2 verses, pre-chorus, chorus, and a bridge. The lyrics are very original, it has a catchy melody. My only complaint, that has to deal more about personal opinions, is that I don't like the voice tone of Jessica Darrow, Luisa's voice actress. I'm not saying that she's not a great singer, she obviously is. I'm just saying that I personally don't find her voice pleasing for my ears. Then she tells Mirabel that she felt weak when the cracks appeared and that maybe all of this has to do with Tio Bruno's old vision. She then goes to Bruno's room, climbs lots of stairs, and finds the vision. When she gets out, she bumps into angry Abuela and is punished for having talked to Luisa. At that moment, it becomes clear that Abuela is kind of the villain of the story. She's always demanding a perfect behavior from everyone, and while every member is doing their best, she's always being so selfish. Later on, Mirabel tries to understand the vision, but Tia Peppa pops out and they all start to sing the most iconic, overrated song of Disney's history, We Don't Talk About Bruno. The title speaks for itself. The song is about Bruno's evil predictions and how the family prefers not to speak of his existence. In my opinion, it's one of the few songs that I kinda like from Encanto, but like I said, it's so overrated. I'm sure that this whole praising has to deal with all of the new social media platforms that are so popular nowadays, especially TikTok, where everyone does the same challenge using the same song, and because of that the song goes viral. And considering that every Disney movie has lots of songs that are naturally hits, now it just gets a huge visibility. I mean, We Don't Talk About Bruno hit #1 on Billboard Hot? The song is great, of course. Very original, awesome vocals and harmonies, nice structure, but surely it's not the best Disney song. Like I said, overrated. After that, Mirabel's dad finds out about the vision and tells her to pretend that it never happened because otherwise it would ruin Mariano's proposal to Isabella and make selfish Abuela even more angry. But then Dolores, who doesn't hear a crack, hears everything about the magic dying, and then we get this funny, chaotic scene where Mirabel is staring at the lotus so she doesn't tell anyone the secret. But then, it all turns to a complete disaster and Toxic Abuela gets pissed off once again. During that whole mess, Mirabel flees and follows the rats that took the vision, leading her to a secret passage. She then sees what seems to be Bruno and starts chasing him. I really like this sequence, it feels very mysterious and adventurous, something that is lacking in the movie. That is something that I would like to point out, the lack of adventure. I feel like the film misses on that tone. Mirabel has to go on this quest to save the magic to prove that she's special, but the storyline doesn't have many moments of tension, challenges, character growing, action to keep the audience excited and looking forward for the ending result. Opposed to, for example, Tangled, where Rapunzel is on a dangerous and intriguing journey with Flynn Rider to see the lamps. They don't have enough time, bad people are after them, there are difficulties on the way, they have a great character development, they travel through different places, and in Encanto, Mirabel is at Casita all of the time. The same environment with the same characters, no life or death situation. Like I said, the only adventurous scene is the chasing Bruno part. But it ends very quickly when we notice that Bruno is not as scary or mean as everyone said previously. Later on, we get to know where Bruno was hiding after all this time. That's when things start to become a bit nonsensical to me, because technically he's now 50 years old, which means he left around his 40s. Since Mirabel is 15 and the gift ceremony was when she was 5 years old, so he was missing for almost 10 years. But nevertheless, he draws a little plate on a table like a kid or a teenager would do. I mean, he's a grown man and it's weird for him to do that kind of stuff. Alright, the scene was a bit sad, I'll admit. But in hindsight, it doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, Mirabel asks Bruno to see the vision again and they go to Antonio's room after he appeared out of nowhere, but a minute later he disappears again. Great character development, Disney! While trying to see the vision, Bruno sees that to make the magic strong again, Mirabel needs to hug Isabella. After that, he encourages her to save the miracle and leaves. Then, Mirabel goes to hug Isabella, but she's a bit reluctant to do so, because she doesn't like her that much. At first, things don't go as planned since Mirabel refuses to apologize for ruining Miss Perfect's proposal. And in the middle of their argument, Isabella confesses that she never wanted to marry Mariano, her fiancé. She was just doing it for the family. Oh boy, that is a very toxic family if you ask me. We then get to listen to another song called What Else Can I Do, where Isabella says that she's tired of being perfect and she wants something true. The song is not bad, it has a nice structure and all, but to me it wasn't so memorable and I didn't like it that much. The only part that I kinda liked is when Mirabel starts to sing the melody that Isabella sings in We Don't Talk About Bruno, and Isabella harmonizes. That part really reminded me of Frozen 1, where Anna and Elsa sing different melodies at the same time and the song still sounds great and original. But other than that, I think that Isabella's songs was pretty average. In the middle of the singing, they finally hug and we see that the candle burned brighter. Also, is it just me or her new dress that she gets in the end looks very ugly? I understand that she was supposed to grow different kinds of plants to show that she's not that perfect girl anymore, but the ending visuals aren't that visually satisfying. I just felt that the setting sun with dark purple plants didn't look great. After the singing and dancing, Evil Abuela appears and blames Mirabel for destroying the family. And literally, if I was Mirabel, I would have blown that candle right from the start. So Mirabel finally fights back and says that Abuela is in fact hurting the family. Oh yeah, go ahead, make that surprise face, you selfish granny. Due to that argument, Casita starts falling apart and our hero tries to save the miracle, but she fails as the candle burns out, all of the magic disappears. Mirabel gets sad and flees to the river where she sits crying. It's not clear how much time has passed, but later on, guilty Abuela finds her and talks about her past. We learn more about young Abuela in a form of flashback with the song Dos Oruguitas. Wait a minute. Huh, what a coincidence. Anyway, to me, this is literally the best sequence of the entire movie. The song is very well written, not only the melody but the lyrics are very creative, comparing the Oruguitas, which means caterpillars, to the couple, saying that they need to accept being far away in each cocoon to be able to evolve, to grow into a beautiful butterfly. Just like Abuela that needs to move on and accept her husband Pedro's death to become a better granny. Even though the melody is very similar to some other Disney songs, I think is by far the best song of the movie. The montage is very well done and very touching. When the flashback ends, sad Abuela becomes happy Abuela as she apologizes to Mirabel and gives her one big hug. Then, Bruno appears with the random horse and starts to defend Mirabel's actions but gets surprised with a big hug from redeemed Abuela. And there's another thing that doesn't make any sense. Bruno was missing for 10 years and when the family sees him they're like, "We love you, Tio Bruno!" But literally, the day before they were all singing about how evil he was and why everyone needs to forget that he exists. What follows is our next song, one that is so memorable that I don't even remember the name, where they fix the house. As you might assume, I didn't like that song. They tried to make a mashup of all of the songs of the movie, singing each song with different lyrics, but I think it turned out to be a complete mess. Not only did the song was all over the place, but the things that happened during the song are also ridiculous. Like I said, the fact that they are all happy to see Bruno, Mirabel's mom being proud of her even though she never seemed to care a lot about her daughters, the Mariano and Dolores part, really, that moment had me cringing. The minute before he was completely in love with Isabella and when Dolores shows up, he then suddenly wants to marry her. Like, what? In the end of the song, Mirabel walks towards the entrance of the house to put the doorknob, making a reference to her gift ceremony, and by doing so, she saves the miracle. And by the way, did you notice how similar the both words are? Miracle and Mirabel?
Coincidence? I think not!
Since we're talking about her, I would like to give my overall thoughts on her character. Mirabel was okay. I didn't love her, but I also didn't dislike her. She's that classic positive kid that looks happy from the outside but deep down feels insecure. The movie does a nice job at making us sympathize with her, since she's getting bullied by her own family and mainly by bully Abuela. Even though they introduces us to the whole big Family Madrigal, I feel like there are only two main characters in the story, Mirabel and Abuela Alma. One being the hero trying to save the miracle with empathy and love, and the other some sort of villain that is tearing the family apart with her ego and arrogance. So it was kind of a bummer that there were many other characters with great potential that were just in the back and didn't add anything to the narrative. There is no denying that the animation is outstanding. From the skirts to the strands of hair, it all looks perfect. The facial expressions were a big improvement. I love that the emotion expressed by the characters are very well done and seem very over the top in a good way and cartoonish, but at the same time, realistic. Talking about realism, the hair. Oh boy, the hair looks fantastic. The way it reflects the light and how it moves is incredible. You can really notice how they paid attention to the little details, like when Mirabelle leaves Bruno's room and you can see all of the little grains of sand on her clothes and hair. The visuals are very colorful and beautiful, so yeah, the animation is breathtaking. In conclusion, I didn't like the movie that much. The plot is a bit cliché, revolving around a not special character. The songs are pretty average and not that memorable. The pacing isn't very great either. Many scenes drag too long and there are many things that doesn't make sense in the narrative. So overall, an average/bad movie, especially comparing to the other Disney princesses films like Tangled, Frozen, Moana, and even Raya. If I was to give it a score, it would be a 4.8 out of 10. So that's why I don't like Encanto.